Pokemon Trainers Academy, Episode 34, HE-COAX. There was no avoiding Professor H. To get to any of the classrooms, you had to go past Professor Hecox's room. The classroom building impractically had one entrance, and that was on Hecox's end. There was another entrance, but it was in the back of Professor Witz's room. To get to the hallway, one would have to go through it. Only students particularly desperate to get away from Professor Hecox would use that entrance. Students like Julius Hankies, who was now scared of Professor Hecox ever since he had him for switching places day. Professor Hecox told Julius that he had great potential as a fire-type trainer and asked him if he was going to switch to training fire types once Trainers Academy was over. Julius never answered, so every time he passed Professor Hecox's room, Hecox would ask him something like, "Hey, Julius, how's about that offer?" Julius had had enough of it. So there he was at the entrance of Professor Witz's room. He was met by big-eyed stares from Professor Witz and his students. "Oh, hey, everybody," Julius said as he slinked through the desk. "Don't mind me, I'm just going to class with Skull in his room." "Why are you going this way?" Professor Witz asked. "I don't want to run into Professor H. He's a madman, okay?" So is Skull. Julius slipped out of Witz's room and rushed to Skull's. At least there he was able to get Professor Hecox off his mind for a few hours. After the bell rang and everyone went to lunch, Skull called Julius to his desk. "I got a note from Professor Hecox," Skull said. "He wants to see you in his classroom." "When will this mayhem end?" Julius yelled. Then he sighed. "Fine," and stomped to Professor Hecox's room. Hecox was waiting for Julius at his desk. "Hello, Julius," he said. "Hey, Professor H," Julius replied. "What do you want me for?" "What do you think I want you for?" Hecox asked. "I wanted you to answer my question." "Well, don't you keep badgering me about it. You haven't given me a chance to think about it." "I just don't want you to forget." "Look," Julius said, "I became an electric-type trainer for a reason." "Doesn't that reason involve getting away from a girl in your class?" "It's still a reason." "I'm just saying that fire is a viable type, and I think you have what it takes to tame it," Hecox told Julius. "Just in case, I don't know, all the Pokeballs containing your electric-type Pokemon are pushed off an airplane by a clumsy Mawile or something, you have a second choice." "What does a clumsy Mawile have to do with any of this?" Julius asked. "Anything can happen, Julius," Professor Hecox answered. "Wait, if you're an electric-type trainer, you must have Professor Skull for evening study, right?" "Yes." "Oh my gosh," Hecox yelled. "I have a great reason for why you should give up electric types." "What is it?" "Professor Skull, he's a madman." "This is news how?" "Hold on, let me finish my story," Hecox yelled. 4 years ago, there was a student in my class. Not just any student, a Ketchum. She caught a Pikachu because most Ketchums catch Pikachu. She had Skull for evening study, and every day she would complain to me about how awful he was. She said that as soon as Trainers Academy was over, she was releasing Pikachu and getting a Squirtle from Professor Oak. On graduation day, during the reception, I saw her away from the crowd, releasing her Pikachu. "Listen, Julius, quit electric types. Ditch Professor Skull. If he can make a Ketchum give up, he can make you give up too." Julius gave Hecox a long, cold stare. Then he said, "I'm going to lunch now." He left the classroom. "Well, that was anticlimactic," Hecox yelled after him. "I just told you this sad, touching story, and you just tell me you're going to have lunch? What the heck, Julius?" Julius ignored him. He didn't care about what Professor Hecox said. Trainers Academy was far from over anyway. When he got to the cafeteria, the students were bunched up in front of the bulletin board. The battle pairings for next week's semester exams had been posted. Julius shoved his way to the front. He landed next to Amber, who ran her finger down the list with a petrified look in her eyes. Julius found his name next to Amber's stalled finger. He looked at Amber. This girl, this know-it-all teacher's pet who only spent time with 2 people and 1 Pokemon, was going to be battling him next week. What an easy opponent!